Okay, what I'll do right now is to call our meeting to order and to welcome everyone. I'm Bob Martin. I'm president of the American Rose Society, and we have today our first ever virtual online members meeting. The members meeting is contemplated in the bylaws of the American Rose Society and usually occurs a day or two after a board meeting at a convention. And the purpose of the members meeting is to advise the members of the American Rose Society of the actions taken by the board of directors at its meeting, and also to present other, for example, financial information. As you can see from the agenda today, the items that we will be covering in this meeting. It's not a legislative meeting. It's not one where we are going to take actions or motions or act on particular things. We will, however, have question and answer period at the end. You've got an answer question box on the screen that you can also pose questions for. And so we'll be pleased to answer your questions. The reports that we will be discussing or describing today will also be posted on the website of the American Rose Society, so that you don't have to take really good notes, because we're going to post the information if you want to follow up on it. And if anyone has any questions specifically, you can address them to staff. You can address them to me. My email address is petrose, PETROSE @AOL.com. And I'd be pleased to answer them directly. So with that said, again, extend a welcome to all the members. For your information, we're right now at 173 folks at this meeting, which is a record for a members meeting. And we will begin. We would always begin our meetings by remembering that there's a lot of people that have spent a lot of years serving the American Rose Society are no longer with us. And so we like to kind of bring them back to our minds individually and collectively. So we will begin with just simply a moment of silence to remember those, and also to a moment of silence for the circumstances we're going through now. We've lost members to the COVID pandemic, which we'll be discussing later. And it's obviously very unusual times, and so that being the case, we will now observe a moment of silence. Our first item of business to the members meeting today, I actually failed to mention at the conclusion of the meeting, and we hope that everyone will stay around, because actually the fun part comes at the end. Normally when we have a convention of the American Rose Society, we not only have a members meeting, but typically we have an awards banquet. And the awards banquet is the occasion whereby we present the annual awards of the American Rose Society. Having no convention this year, we're going to have the awards as a virtual awards. So actually, several of the things say awards banquet, but we're not serving food. You'll have to provide for yourself when it comes to that. But we'll have an awards presentation at the conclusion of the members meeting, and we urge everyone to stay around for that. First item of business on the members meeting is a president's report and a recap of the board items that took place at the board meeting that was held yesterday, our first virtual board meeting, at which we had excellent attendance. We had 25 of the 31 board members in attendance, plus a number of guests and staff, and typically about 40 some odd people attended, and went surprisingly well as we figured out how to do this. The board meeting began with a report that I submitted to the board Typically, we start with a president's report, the idea here being for me to report on the activities that I've undertaken, and I've undertaken together with the executive committee that I chair of the board of directors. And we begin with that report. A good deal of that report has to do with the response to the COVID-19 pandemic during the last 5 months. A substantial amount of my attention as president has been to address matters arising out of the pandemic. Substantial is perhaps an understatement. I've been on the phone virtually every day with our executive director, with staff members, as we've addressed circumstances we've never had to address before. And in many respects, we've been making it up as we go along, but I think we've been doing a pretty good job. At the outset of March 17th, 2020, I took the opportunity to address all the members of the American Rose Society in an email blast that went out to everyone about the concern of the American Rose Society and the well-being of our members, our local society, and our staff. I asked the leadership, and the leadership I have addressed here was the leadership not only of the American Rose Society and its districts, but of also local rose societies, to follow the guidelines of the CDC and other health officials, government officials, and taking all precautionary steps to ensure the safety of our members. I ask all local societies to reconsider previously scheduled meetings, road shows, seminars, public demonstrations, and in making any decisions, I have suggested and continue to suggest we err on the side of caution. We consider the fact that a large percentage of our members are in the vulnerable population of age 65 and above. And we consider the fact also that although we love and enjoy our roses, getting together at rose activities is not a real essential activity. And it's better that we be safe and spend our time growing roses in the rose garden, which continues to be a safe activity. I have followed up those messages with a message that was posted on the American Rose Society website, and I have been addressing the continuing pandemic in my presidential messages in the American Rose magazine and our 2 electronic publications. On March 23rd, I called an emergency meeting of the executive committee, which immediately followed the Louisiana governor's statewide shutdown order. And working with the executive director, John Corcoran, we established plans for the operation of the American Rose Society and the maintenance of the American Rose Center during the shutdown. We had to shut down the American Rose Center and basically move our staff, virtually all the staff, online as a consequence of the Louisiana governor's order. The American Rose Center has since reopened under specific guidelines set forth by the governor and the state of Louisiana, which we have been following in maintaining the American Rose Center. May 4th, I met virtually with Louisiana State Representative Alan Seabaugh, Vice President Diane Summers, Treasurer Jack Page, Executive Director John Corcoran, and staff, at which we reviewed and approved an application for a forgivable loan under the Paycheck Protection Program as authorized by the CARES Act that was adopted by Congress. Therefore, after with my approval, the ARS applied for and received a forgivable loan in the amount of $105,146.83. Under the PPE program as authorized by the CARES Act, the loan amounts are forgiven as long as the loan proceeds are used to cover payroll costs, interest, rent, utility costs over the 8-week period after the loan is made, and employee compensation levels are maintained. We have done those things, and as a matter of fact, the amount of the loan was determined by reference to what our expected payroll costs would be. And so we anticipate that that loan will be forgiven and treated basically as a grant to the American Rose Society. And when you receive the financial report from our treasurer, you will see this has helped us a great deal in terms of maintaining our financial stability during this crisis. The American Rose Society bylaws require 2 board meetings a year, but do not actually require them to be in person. And because of the pandemic, I proposed a resolution at the executive committee meeting held June 17, 2020, by which the executive committee adopted Standing Rule 9 to permit meetings of the board of directors to be conducted by electronic means. That is the rule by which we conducted the meeting of the board yesterday. We also adopted Standing Rule 10, and 10 basically says that district directors may conduct district meetings by electronic meetings. Our districts have been unable to have their annual conventions and meetings, and so we have a standing rule in place, and those in your district who have not had a meeting yet, you should have a meeting, and you can have the meeting by electronic means. I've also been in communication not only with the districts, but with a number of local societies. Most of you are aware that I'm also an attorney, and basically a number of local societies have said, how under our bylaws can we go about conducting our meetings, electing our officers, and doing the things we're required to do? And the answer to that question generally is most of the bylaws of local organizations have a catch-all clause at the end that says that if the bylaws don't cover the subject, that it's covered by Robert's Rules of Order. That's Robert's Rules of Order, not Bob's Rules of Order, but Robert's Rules of Order. Actually, when you look at the website of Robert's Rules of Order, they've been addressing this very question, have adopted a number of rules that permit electronic meetings. And so the answer is, if your local society is trying to figure out how to have a meeting, I can show you how. Feel free to contact me, and we will assist you. We can also assist through technology resources, which our Vice President will discuss later, that we can make available to you so that you can conduct your local society meetings. In order to ameliorate the effects of canceled events and those whose judging and CR credentials are in need of renewal, I have, by an executive order, declared 2020 as the year that never was. What that means is that in counting years for judges and consulting Rosarians, 2020 never happened, and everyone gets an additional year to make up for the year that never was. Consulting Rosarians who became CRs through our recent online seminars are recorded as having commenced their service in 2021. Consulting Rosarians who may have earned CR credits through our online seminar this year are recorded as having earned them in 2021. We also have a scheduled rotation of national trophies among the districts. It's again, 2020 never happened. And so all the trophies that were scheduled to go to districts in 2020 will go to that same district in 2021. And the schedules for the years then following will all be adjusted for the year that never was. The rule on the year that never was does not apply to the award of ARS awards at any level. All awards, including the gold, district silver, and local society bronze medals for 2020, should be given in accordance with established policies. The point of the rule is simple. It's not to prejudice anyone for the fact that we have been unable to have in-person meetings and events. And at the same time, we've all been called upon and often to perform extraordinary service for our societies, and we need to continue to recognize those who serve and continue to serve on a national, district, and local level. From a board composition standpoint, on Executive Committee on May 13th appointed former Regional Director Baxter Williams as the Region 7 Director to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term arising out of the resignation of Alan Owings. With my assistance and guidance, Lori Emery was unanimously elected as the Tenarchy District Director to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term arising out of the resignation of Richard Anthony. The San Diego Rose Society is planning on hosting the Pacific Southwest District Convention April 30th to May 2nd, 2021. We are considering a combined district miniature national convention. As proposed, the board would have a meeting on Thursday with the Rose Show Friday and a rose auction featuring miniature and mini floral roses on Saturday. Planning has been slowed pending further developments in the pandemic and indications of support from the board. We anticipate making a proposal to the Convention Planning Committee for consideration at the December meeting of the board. Obviously, even though this is a long way away, you know, the Colorado Convention was a long way away and was unable to be held. So we hope that things will be resolved, but right now this is still somewhat in the air. Under the leadership of Vice President Diane Summers and David Jerry Mahoney, our national CR chairs, we delivered the first ARS online consulting Rosarian School and seminar during June and July, which many of you participated in. The school was a great success, resulted in the accreditation of 43 no consulting Rosarians. We now have, for your information, a total of 1,013 consulting Rosarians, including the 43 new ones. The further planning is now underway to continue that, to have another consulting Rosarian school and seminar, and we are now also exploring a virtual online judging seminar to help bring our judging credentials up to date. I have continued to maintain the position as chairman of the trustees of the American Rose Society Maintenance Endowment Trust, serving with fellow trustees Curtis L. Miller and Alan Seabaugh. At the request of the board, the Met trustees have undertaken a capital improvement plan with a budget of $427,033.10. At this writing, the trust has paid $242,984.33 toward improvements, which amounts are slightly under budget. Details of these improvements we will provide further in the executive director's report, and also a report on the American Rose Center and the Great Garden Restoration, which is being done in correlation with. The Met trustees have also adjusted the formula for annual distributions in support of the American Rose Center in order to hold them at budgeted levels, so that the capital improvement plan does not reduce the amount that is otherwise available to provide for maintenance of the American Rose Center. My objective has been and continues to be to encourage recognition and service to the American Rose Society, making sure awards are presented. I have been working closely with John Mattia, chairman of Prizes and Awards Committee, to implement on the awards policy that we adopted at my initiative in 2017, which emphasizes that ARS awards such as the Gold Honor Medal, the Clean Medal, shall be awarded each year. There are no more ties, supermajorities, withholding of votes. These awards, people are deserving of them, and I want to see them rewarded. And as you will see at the award ceremony this afternoon, or following this, all of them have been and will be awarded in 2020. Dr. Satish Prabhu has suggested that we undertake a review of the methods by which nominations are received to eliminate archaic requirements. For example, in one case, supporting nominations have to be provided in a sealed envelope, 2 sealed envelopes, as a matter of fact, and use of mails and sealed envelopes and so on. Those are somewhat archaic in this computer age, and most of the awards require that if your candidate did not receive the award in the year, you have to go back to square one and resubmit the nomination as if you never done so in the first place. And so we're exploring alternatives to that, so that basically you can resubmit, indicate that a prior year's nomination is resubmitted without having to go through the entire process again. Important for everyone is that I have a stock of certificates for presidential citations, and I am very pleased to recognize significant society anniversaries. If your society is celebrating its 50th anniversary or 25th or some other event of note, or if you have individual accomplishments by your members that you feel ought to be recognized, if you will contact me, I will be pleased to provide a presidential citation that that can be delivered for that event or for that person. The American Rose magazine is very close to my heart, and it's been my goal to see that the American Rose magazine has got additional educational content, and you have seen that in the magazines that you have received. And it's also been my goal to see that the magazines are delivered on time. I think that's particularly important in this time during the COVID pandemic. And I'm pleased to report that the last 2 issues were in fact delivered on time. The next one's going to be on time. The annual is well underway, and it will be delivered on time. And basically, I think our editor, Beth Smiley, and Elena Williams, the chair of our editorial advisory committee, have had a lot to do with this, and I compliment them, the contributing editors and others, for the continued excellence of the American Rose magazine. We hosted Roses Review in 2019 for the first time through Google Forms, and changed the rating system so that you're rating using whole numbers, so you don't have to try to figure out some fractional numbers, whether or not a rose is a 7.6 or a 7.4. It's either a 7, an 8, however you determine to identify it. The system has proven workable, and we've also made significant improvements in the Google Forms. Through the efforts of Don Swanson, our National Roses Review Coordinator, we've continued to make those improvements, and that survey is underway as we speak. The due date for this year's reports is September 26, 2020. There is a link on the front page of the ARS website at www.rose.org. We ask all members to participate in Roses in Review. This is extremely important. We've been doing this for 80 years, and it provides for the detail of the handbook on selecting roses, and is an extremely important exercise. Consulting rosarians in particular are expected to participate, and we expect you to do that which is expected, I guess. The Modern Roses website, I'm continue the chair of the ad hoc committee on registration with Bruce Monroe and Andy Vanable, and we continue our efforts to restore the Modern Roses database, which is the longest ongoing project I've been dealing with, dating back to when I was vice president. I gave up trying to predict exactly when we're going to accomplish this, but we're getting very close. And specifically what has happened is that we focused on the databases of other plant societies, and we found the database of the American Daylily Society. If you want to put that in your Google search engine and go look right on their front page, they have a database, and it's a really easy database. You put to get a database of all the daylilies, and we were extremely impressed with that. So we received, solicited and received a proposal from Bob Hernandez of Molten Java, which is the firm that developed that database, and employed them to basically take and recreate for us a similar database for the Modern Roses website, and to migrate all of the data that we had in our multiple databases on the back side of Modern Roses. That work has been substantially completed. The board of directors received a report directly from Bob Hernandez, who illustrated a great deal of the interface, and he was a guest, as I've indicated, at the board meeting, gave a report on the progress of the work, and the new database and interface is going to be available for beta testing soon. I know many of you heard that word soon before, but now soon is actually, I expect this before our next meeting in December, that this new database will be launched, and you will see Modern Roses again up and operating. Treasurer Jack Page reviewed the ARS financial statements, and the summary of this report will follow this recap. Steve Campbell, our audit committee chairman, reported on the status of the audit of the financial statements. The work on the 2019 audit is continuing. It's continuing well, and presentation of it will be made at the December 2020 board meeting. The board approved the audit committee's recommendation for preparation of the 2020, 21, and 22 audits by James McClellan, the CPA, who is our current CPA and who provided the proposal. There's a modest increase in cost each year, but the cost is very reasonable. Our executive director, John Corcoran, delivered an executive director report. A summary of this report will follow this recap. Strategic Planning Committee Chair Diane Summers, and also our Vice President, presented a PowerPoint on the committee's efforts in technology resources, and a summary of that report will also follow this recap. The plan report by Marilyn Welland on the Great Garden Restoration Project was deferred because a hurricane went over her house with Category 3 winds. I'm pleased to report that although her garden, she tells me, is a mess, that Marilyn is fine, and she will be delivering that report later at this members meeting. I noticed several questions already about the gardens themselves at the American Rose Center. John Corcoran can address that in more detail, but the answer is everything is fine there. We lost a couple of tree limbs, but basically the garden withstood the hurricane very well. We also adopted a resolution in support of the Society of the Honor Guard Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Centennial Commemoration and the establishment of a Never Forget Garden in America's Rose Garden in Shreveport. Marilyn is the designated representative to that project, and she will describe that further in her report. The Consulting Rosarian Committee submitted several requests for approval. The board approved the request for approval of revisions to Chapter 2 of the Consulting Rosarian Manual, which includes the addition of electronic devices for taking the exam. The board also approved the Consulting Rosarian Committee's request for approval of revisions to Chapters 3 and 4 of the Consulting Rosarian Manual, subject to the proviso that the photo credits that were inadvertently omitted be restored in the captions to the photos. These changes are effective immediately. New pages will be available on the website for download, and printed Consulting Rosarian manuals will include the new material. Horticultural Judging Committee made a number of changes in the guidelines and rules for judging roses. Board approved revision to Chapter 4 having to do with disqualification penalization to reflect the previous board action taken last October at my initiative that eliminates most reasons for disqualification. My view had been and continues to be that disqualification was falling too hard on our newest exhibitors and was discouraging exhibiting, and so the board adopted the principles that I set forth on that, and they have been implemented and now are in the guidelines and rules for judging roses. The board also approved changes to the guidelines and rules for judging roses to reflect the previous board adoption of a policy that the American exhibition name of a rose for rose show purposes shall, to the extent practicable, be the name under which the rose is available or otherwise generally known in the United States. So Rosa was introduced in Germany as Duft Jewel, for example, will now be shown as Princess Charlene de Monaco, which I believe is its actual name. And we have been making those changes in the handbook for selecting roses, and when Modern Roses is re-established and is online, the objective will be to go through and identify and clean up the American exhibition name so that we're using names. Basically, the idea here is we want exhibitors to be able to show the rose under the name they bought it at the local nursery, so that they don't get disqualified for having the wrong name, and so that visitors to the show will have the opportunity to go to the nursery and hopefully buy the rose that they might want to see. And so the whole point is to make things simple there. These changes are effective immediately, and new pages will be available on the website for download. Prizes and Awards Committee produced a number of things, came out of the National Arrangement Challenge, the Committee on Arrangements. The schedule for National Arrangement Challenge class trophies for years when only one national convention is held has been established and approved by the board. The board approved a request to rename the Oriental and Mini Oriental Rosette Awards as the East Asian Rosette and Miniature East Asian Rosette Awards. The word Oriental has been concluded to be a derogatory term, and so the names of those rosettes and the type of arrangements has been changed. Similarly, the Barlow Shoup, a board approved details of a Barlow Shoup East Asian Arrangement Award, which will be a new national trophy available for arrangers. These changes are effective immediately, and the Arrangement Judges Committee is working on a new edition of the guideline for judging rose arrangements. The board approved changes to the guidelines and rules for rose photography to revise Chapter 4 in its entirety to reflect changes to the rules for disqualification and the assignment of American exhibition names. These changes are effective immediately, and a new program book will become available on the website. The Bylaws Committee approved a number of amendments to the bylaws. Amendments to the bylaws are subject to ratification and approval by the memberships, and none of these will be effective until they are ratified by the membership, and they will be submitted for the approval of the members at the next triennial election, which takes place next year. The board approved an amendment to the bylaws that changes the date of the triennial election from the last Friday of July to the last Friday of June. The significance of this is that balloting would begin 30 days prior to, and thus shortening the period for balloting. The board concluded on the recommendation of the Strategic Planning and Bylaws Committee that we didn't need 60 days of balloting now that we're doing this electronically, and so the period for balloting has been reduced, and that also gets the officers. We can determine who the directors and officers are by the end of June so that they can prepare for transition later in the same year. The board approved an amendment to the bylaws that changes the description of the National Nominating Committee to reflect the previously approved change in the number of regional directors from 10 to 4. The change took place in Franklin about last October, in which we proposed to reduce the number of regional directors down to 4. That would be effective as of the triennial election, so that we now only have 4 regional directors, and the regions have been made to coincide with district boundaries, so that basically there are a number of districts under each of the regions. And the National Nominating Committee in the past had 10, and so that needed to be adjusted, and a bylaws amendment to do so was approved. The board approved an amendment to the bylaws that removes the preference for regional directors who have been prior board members, primarily because there is no longer that preference to be elected vice president, and it seemed to the board that the requirements for regional directors should be no less severe than the requirement to be vice president and president. The board approved a procedure, an amendment to the bylaws to restructure the tally committee. We no longer need a tally committee, so we no longer ballots to tally except electronically, and so an amendment to the bylaws is being proposed to address electronic voting and how we in fact count the votes, which are done by the firm that we employ to do that. The board approved an amendment to the bylaws that clarifies that presidents as non-voting members may make and second motions, speak and debate, and nominate candidates for election. Our bylaws provide that past presidents are members of the board of directors, but they are non-voting members. And so the point here of this bylaws amendment was to expand on that somewhat to explain what it is that a non-voting member can do besides not vote. The bylaws referred back to the bylaws committee a proposed amendment to the bylaws that would have removed the executive director as a non-voting member of the board. The board rejected a proposed amendment to the bylaws that would give past presidents the right to vote at board meetings. The board approved a number of amendments to the standing rules that are effective immediately. There was a standing rule that required a number of affirmative votes for the award of the Gold Honor Medal, which was inconsistent with the awards policy adopted by the board in 2017, so that standing rule has been eliminated. The board approved the revision of Standing Rule 2 regarding the structure of the Prizes and Awards Committee to reflect the approved change in the number of regional directors from 10 to 4. In the past, regional directors, there were 10 regional directors, each of whom appointed a member of the Prizes and Award Committee for a 6-year term. And the terms overlapped each other so that 5 of them would expire and every 3 years. With the reduction of the number of regional directors from 10 to 4, it was necessary to change the structure of the Prizes and Awards Committee. So as a transitional measure, the board approved the structure of the Prizes and Award Committee, which will consist following the next triennial election of the 5 current members whose terms have not expired, plus 1 member per region to be appointed by the regional director. Then when those existing members' terms expire, then there will be, each regional director will appoint 2 members of the Prizes and Award Committee, one of whom could be a self-appointment. The regional director can serve or appoint someone else. But the appointments have to be in different districts within their region so that they both don't come from the same district. The board ratified the action of the executive committee in the adoption of Standing Rules 6, 9, and 10 pertaining to electronic meetings of the board of directors, electronic district meeting, and the location of the American Rose Society standalone board meetings. The Ad hoc Registration and Classification Committee on Registration, which I chair, had proposed 2 major changes in our registration and classification of roses, which went through our Classification and Registration Committee, our Historical Preservation Committee, and other relevant committees. The board approved the restoration of the historically accepted names of the Plantaria, Gallica, and Cordyceia classes, and the restoration of the class Rambler to the section of Modern Roses. Ramblers are back. As a result, the American Rose Society approved family tree for the genus Rosa. It will be is amended, so that the class formerly called hybrid Eglanteria is replaced by Eglanteria, which is what it had always been up to a number of years ago. The class hybrid Gallica is replaced by the class Gallica. The class hybrid Cordyceae is replaced by the class Cordyceae, and the class Rambler is restored to the section of modern roses. What will happen is that the Classification Registration Committee, in connection with the work of modern roses, will go back through and determine where, how we restore the Rambler class. A lot of the Ramblers were shoved into hybrid Wichuranas, and so they will be restored back to being Ramblers. The board approved the division of the modern shrub class into 3 classes. Please understand that they are still all modern shrubs, and the modern shrub class will now consist of 3 classes. There will be the English style roses. These are roses in the style of the David Austin roses. And roses, not necessarily, they will include most or many of the roses, in fact, released by David Austin roses, as well as others in the same style. Then there will be ground cover roses, and the remaining a landscape shrub. A landscape shrub, the classic example would be a rose such as Knockout, which is a landscape shrub. These changes are effective immediately. We will be working on those changes as far as incorporating them within the judging guidelines. For rose show purposes, and I know we haven't had any rose shows this year, but for rose shows and the purposes, the point is that we're going to treat it very much like we treat now classic shrubs. We have the classic shrub class. It could be a separate class. It could be combined with an overall shrub class in a show. Modern shrubs nowadays could be a modern shrub class, a modern shrub bloom class. It could be, we have royalty available for modern shrubs, so that it could be a queen, king, and princess of modern shrubs. We can continue to do that, and if rose shows, a number of rose shows, in fact, separate out Austin shrubs, and so we anticipate that what they would do is now call them English style, and roses so classified could be in the rose show that way. Basically, we leave this up to the rose show organizers how you want to construct your shows, but from a classification standpoint, where we inform consumers and members of the American Rose Society what they might expect when you buy a rose. If you buy a ground cover, for example, we would expect it to be a low-growing rose in the manner of something like, the drift roses or flower carpet, or a landscape shrub rose like a flower, like a Knockout, or like the English style Austin roses. These changes are effective immediately, but it's going to take us a while to get them all incorporated into the database, and it just takes time to get this all done. The Trust Committee reports. The board received a report from the Maintenance Endowment trustees regarding the expenditures made to date of the Capital Improvement Project. The board received, accepted with thanks, a report from the American Rose Center Committee on its activities and copies of their minutes. The board received and accepted with thanks a report from the Miniature Mini Flora Committee on its activities, and the board received a report from the National Nominating Committee regarding the upcoming 2021 triennial election and the procedures by which it will be conducted. In our concluding matters at the board, we conducted our fall elections to the various committees and trustee positions for terms that had been or were expiring. On the executive committee, board members Deborah Bagley and Linda Kimmel were elected to the executive committee. The executive committee for the next year will consist of myself as the president, our vice president Diane Summers, our treasurer Jack Page, and the board representatives Deborah Bagley and Linda Kimmel. The executive director serves as a non-voting member. On the audit committee, board member Linda Clark was elected to the audit committee. The audit committee will consist, therefore, of the chairman, Steve Campbell, and members Ann Gibson and Linda Clark. Ethics committee, board members Cindy Dale and Linda Clark were elected to the ethics committee. That will now consist of the chair, Lois Helgeson, members Linda Clark, Cindy Dale, Linda Kimmel, Curtis Almuller, and Deborah Bagley. The ARS Endowment Trust. Board member Linda Clark was elected as trustee of the ARS Endowment Trust. The ARS Endowment Trust now will consist of Jack Page, our treasurer, as the chair, Linda Clark, and Diane Summer, our vice president. And she is the representative of the executive committee, and Linda is the representative of the board of directors. The Educational Trust, Vice President Diane Summers was elected as trustee of the ARS Educational Trust. The ARS Educational Trust for the coming year will consist of Ann Gibson, Diane Summers, and Chris Van Cleve. The Maintenance Endowment Trust, Louisiana State Representative Alan Sebo was reelected as the Caddo Parish trustee of the ARS Maintenance Endowment Trust. The ARS Maintenance Endowment Trust for the coming year will consist of myself as the chair, Alan Sebo as the Caddo Parish representative, and Curtis Almiller as the board of directors representative. The Research Trust, the board ratified the reappointment of Don Myers as the research committee chair, thereby electing him as a trustee of the ARS Research Trust. The research trustees consist of Bruce Monroe as the chair, Don Myers, research committee chair, and Alan Owings as the scientist researcher. The next finance, executive committee, and board of director meetings was tentatively scheduled for December 3rd, 4th, 2020 in Shreveport, Louisiana. There will be a finance committee Wednesday, December 3rd, with an executive committee board of director meeting on Thursday, December 4th at the Residence Inn at the Marriott in Bossier City, Louisiana, which is the companion city to Shreveport across the river, for those of you unfamiliar with the layout of Shreveport. The meetings will be held in conjunction with Christmas in Roseland, and all the directors have been invited to attend, but at the same time, we recognize the continuing travel restrictions and difficulties posed by the pandemic, so the meetings will be held in person as well as online. So basically, those that are present in person will meet in person, and we'll dial in and bring forth all the other directors to participate online. We invite all of you, as a matter of fact, as members, to come and see Christmas in Roseland. It's a big event, and we expect it to be even bigger this year, God willing, and the pandemic not to the contrary. That concludes my board recap and president's report. You can see from the agenda, our next item of business is a treasury report. And with that, I will introduce Jack Page, our wonderful treasurer, and he will give us the treasurer's report.
John, am I ready to go?
You're good.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. My name is Jack Page. I'm your current treasurer. I am serving a 3-year term appointment from fall 2018 to 2021, fall of 2021. Today, on behalf of President Martin and the Board of Directors, I would like to share a brief financial update with you. And these meetings are much easier when the news is good. So let's get started. Do anyone who may want to know what the rose is on my screen, that is My Lady Barbara, hybridized by Fred Wright, and it was exhibited by Dolores Snellgrove of the Carolina District at the Charlotte Rose Show. That was Queen of Show. Well, since our last members meeting, we have closed out 2019, and I want to share that a little bit with you. As you can see, we anticipated 2019 to be a net loss of 11,000. However, the good news is it was closer to 2,000, and we finished ahead of budget. Don't get too concerned when you see negative numbers, because in nonprofit we go back and forth. Some years are highly over, some years they go under. So that is not very concerning, actually, as long as we keep it on the positive side most of the time. So why did we finish a little ahead? That's attributed mainly to contributions from our trusts, memorials we received, a trail grant reimbursement. That was a surprise. That was wonderful. That's about $8,000. And just extra cost-cutting measures by our staff, because we knew we were going to have a very tight summer. But mainly, overall, our financial health it comes from you. So thank you for all those who have renewed their memberships and have given to the annual fund and donated to our trust. Our organization succeeds based on the generosity of our members. So we really appreciate that. So with that said, let's see where our money came from in 2019. I always like my pie charts. Give you a second just to kind of look at that. As you can see, up to the right here, membership, annual fund, and editorial, that's advertising in our magazine, that comes up to about 56% of our income. Another huge one, our trust. Look at that, 28% of our income come from our endowment trust. And of course, those are funded by your donations as well. But just take away mainly the three main pillars of our financial success come from our membership, our annual fund, and our trust. All of that comes from you. So where did our money go? Give you a minute to kind of look at that. I know for some of you, it may concern you, the huge part of this pie, payroll and general and admin. An organization of our size, it requires a lot, a lot of management. So that's why you're seeing those large numbers. Look at our editorial, $90,000. We have a top-rated magazine. Beth and Elena all do a great job, but it's expensive, but it's awesome. So we pay for that. So you see, payroll and administrative costs make up about 73% of our expenses. Some may say that maybe the payroll is too high, but you have to understand this is divided by 15 people, so the average is 30-some thousand. And some of these folks have given their lives, they've been there for 20 years. So I assure you, our staff is not overpaid. They work nights and weekends, and including their normal shift. So please take it from me. I was just a member just like you before and never knew, but I see how hard our staff works, and it's justified. So we'll move on. So where are we now? We are right now showing a net income well above our budget. And I'm very excited about that. So how do we get there during a pandemic? How did this come about? You'd think with all the craziness going on in the world. Well, let's look at it. Our annual fund at the end of June was about $4,000 ahead of budget. Now don't relax, we still need you to contribute. We still have the rest of the year to get through, but that was great news. At the beginning of the year, you see here a $60,000 private donation from the Sheehy family there in the Shreveport area. They actually donated $100,000. $60,000 went to our operations, and $40,000 went to pay for Circle 2, or helped fund Circle 2. Sorry, not pay for Circle 2. Our editorial. This is magazine advertising sales in the magazine and the annual and our handbook. $10,000 ahead of budget to date, which is wonderful news. Again, great job by Beth to really seek out these advertisers and product endorsers. I'll skip down to, for now, the next one, the payroll protection plan, which Bob just spoke about a few minutes ago. At the end of June, we had used 71,000 of those funds. A total of 105,000 that we did end up using by the end of July. So that, of course, is a forgivable loan and will be treated more like a grant. I did want to address America's Rose Garden, our GGR project, also the clockwork circles that are going on. Those are going great, and those are funded by private donations. I just want to assure the members that your membership dollars do not pay to build those new circles. Those are being funded by donations, and I just want to assure you that is occurring. And I look forward to hearing Marilyn's presentation on the circles and and the rest of the garden as well. I can tell you it's beautiful. I was there at Christmas in Roseland, so our gardens are starting to look beautiful. That's going to help with our finances too. So with all of that, that puts us right now at about $100,000 over budget. Again, a huge donation at the beginning of the year, and the payroll protection plan really pulled us through this year, but we still have the rest of the year to get through, and we don't know how Christmas in Roseland is going to go. So please be sure to continue your contributions. We talked a lot about our trust. Bob mentioned them, and I have kind of mentioned them. And I wanted you to see, here they are listed on the left, but to the right was the balance of our trust in February, pre-COVID. You can see we had about $4.5 million. Then of course COVID hit, and you see we lost about $500,000. I can tell you as of July, the end of July, we had already recovered and we're back to $4.5 million again. So we have recovered pretty much all of that money at that point. Of course, all of our trusts are kind of the oversight comes from trustees. Each have 3 that are made up of our members and board of directors, and our financial advisors with RBC. And the combination of the 2 really do a good job to keep these trusts in line, to keep the money spent where it's supposed to be spent, and just making sure that we will have them for a long time. And again, I encourage you to donate to these trusts. They really have pulled us out. In the 2 years now I have been treasurer, I have been amazed at how wonderful these trusts are, how much they've really helped us. So just so you can see again, the MET to date this year alone has distributed us $135,000. Just this year alone, January through June, the METSIP program, I call it METSIP, that's our capital improvement plan. That trust, the Met Trust has donated $37,000. Again, that's really going to pick up as the year goes on now that we're able to get people back on the site and get working. Again, this trust is paying for a lot of the maintenance of the American Rose Center. That way your membership dollars can be spent on you. The RSET Trust, American Rose Society Endowment Trust, that just distributed $13,000 this summer to help fund the magazine. So see, again, just how wonderful these trusts are for us. The EET, Education Endowment Trust, $3,300 to date. That is for the Klima Medal and for also some staff retreats or seminars for the staff to learn more about ways they can help us in our educational mission. The Research Trust, that shows a 0 because the Research Trust typically does not make any distributions to the operations. It goes to fund research projects such as rosette disease. You've seen, I think Paul Zimmerman, some of them have a new initiative up to get some funding for that. So please be sure and donate to that if you can. I think last year the Research Trust donated, I think it was $13,000 to a rosette study. But that is my concise and in a nutshell report of the current finances. Again, you are so important to our organization, and hopefully you can see by initiatives with this software presentation today that your money is being put to work for you. I think you're going to see more and more and more as you hear from Diane later today and the things that Bob has mentioned as well. So please continue your generous contributions and so that we can continue to serve you. So thank you and have a great afternoon.
All right, I'm John Corcoran, Executive Director of the American Rose Society. I hope everyone can see me now with my camera. I want to thank you all for being here today and give you a little idea of what all's going on in the American Rose Society. First, I want to talk about Christmas in Roseland. We've been talking about Christmas in Roseland quite a bit between President Bob Martin and Jack, our treasurer. So I'm going to show just a few seconds of a video of Christmas in Roseland and a reason for you to visit to see how beautiful your garden is. As you can see, Christmas in Roseland had a ton of lights. We had a record year last year, the biggest year we've ever had. We hope to have that again this year. Some of the new features that we had at Christmas in Roseland, you've seen President Bob Martin roasting his marshmallow. We had a new marshmallow fire pit that the kids absolutely loved. We also had a Angel of Hope ceremony, and for the dedication that's remembered every year. I know Marilyn Wellen will be speaking about this a little bit further. This was a gift from her husband, Byron, in honor of all the lost children out there. And every December, we will have an event, and we're so thankful for the one that we had this year. It's a beautiful addition to the garden. We also had Christmas in Roseland events. I'm going to tell you, we had something just about every single night. We had a Boy Scout night, a Girl Scout night. We had a Ha-Ha Wacky Hair Station. So if you want to have some crazy hair, I think we're going to do that again. We also had the Veterans Active Military Night, First Responders. We had our Christmas in Roseland Market, which was a huge success on December 13th. So I had an Adopt a Pet night. We had the Christmas market. That's where we have local vendors come out and do their marketplace. That was the 6th and the 7th. I think we had over 40 vendors there, and people had a wonderful night. We also had an author's night and a car show, and I'm not showing it on here, but we even had a drone race night, and the kids absolutely loved it. We've got a lot of media coverage, and we continue to get a lot of media coverage from our local news media here in Shreveport and nationally. Moving on throughout the year, we had the 2019 Digital Photo Contest on February 19th. I would like to thank Curtis Allmiller and everybody that entered their pictures in for this digital photo contest, and congratulations to you for those who won. I encourage you to participate in the 2020 photo contest that you can learn more about on our website. We also had a Valentine's Day promotion. Instead of giving a bouquet of roses, we wanted you to give a whole rose bush. We try to do those promotions so that we can have more people join the American Rose Society and know the wonder of growing your own rose. During COVID-19, which has been kind of tough for us, we shut down the gardens, as Mr. President Martin spoke about, but we also wanted to make sure that you got to see what was going on in the garden during the close down. I'll have a drone video that I'll be shooting here real soon, but we wanted to make sure you got to see the gardens. If you haven't, go visit our Facebook page. You can see a drone video, or several of them, of the gardens. We also did a walk around through the gardens in case you missed it. We had our Don Morgan walk through the garden during spring bloom, so you could see that. Also, we wanted to do a few other things with some of our members. We had past President Pat Shanley show how to prune her roses in her backyard, and we had Eric come in from the Eastern North Carolina Rose Society, do a tour of his garden, and I will tell you, it was a huge hit with over 1,600 views. So we're trying to do more online, which you will hear more about from Vice President Diane Summers. Our gardens did reopen on May 18th, and we're happy to say that the gardens are looking good. A lot of you have asked about the gardens since the hurricane. I will tell you, my prayers were answered. We lost no pine trees, and I will tell you, even if we get a little bit of a wind blow, it's like we're losing a pine tree, and not one came down. There were no leaks in the roof that I saw in any of our buildings, no busted out glass, just a lot of leaves and some twig branches. That's about it. And our staff was there yesterday cleaning everything up, and we're open today. June was National Rose Month. We did a promotion for new trial members, which was a huge success. And speaking of that, if you have new members in your Rose Society that have never been a member of the American Rose Society, reach out to Lucy Medvick. We have a pretty neat offer there. That is our Membership and Development Director, and she would love to hear from you. We're also doing Roses in Review, as President Martin was talking about. That's July 1st through September 26th. You can visit www.rose.org. There you will see a link at the top that says Roses in Review. I will remind you, when you go in, the very first time that you go to enter in to review your rose, make sure you fill out all that information on the first time. After that, and you go finish reviewing all the roses, you can skip the first part and just put in your email address. That is how we identify you. I know it's a little bit of a headache, but it's not linked into any database, and so we have to have your email address, and we thank you for reviewing your roses. If you haven't done so, we will be sending out a reminder email here real soon to remind you again. We've done a lot for our website, especially under the resources area, and you will see Vice President Diane Summers talk about that. We have some stuff, speakers and resources out there for your local Rose Society if you want to have a presentation using some of our cool software that we're using today. We also have had Consulting Rosarian Schools online. That happened between June and July. If you'd like to see those videos, you can visit our YouTube channel or on our website under videos, and you can see all those: integrated pest management, chemical safety, and I invite you to join those. If you have any content that you would like to share with us, you can email beth@rose.org, and we will try to get that on the website. Speaking of annual funds, so far as of July 31st, with our special gift, we've raised $121,000. I ask that you still consider giving. We definitely need to reach our goal this year. And with Christmas in Roseland, I don't know how it's going to happen this year as far as, you know, the limitations that we might have. So don't think we've got it all made and we're great and everything's okay. Just make sure you still consider giving a gift to the annual fund, because we need every dime and we use it wisely. If you give a gift of $200 and above, you are a patron member. We send you this really nice pin. And if you would like to know more about that, you can reach out to Lucy Medvick at lucy@rose.org. And we hope that you decide to become a patron. We also have our Perpetual Bloomer program, which you can give monthly, so it makes it a little bit easier on you. And we'll be happy to explain to you more about that. We also participated in Give for Good. And this is a local giving program that we have with our community foundation, and we had a record year this year. And so if you get a blast and you see that, it usually comes out in May, just know that they do some matching gifts there, and it's a good way to give to us. We also had Christmas in July, And that's one of the ways we're able to get Christmas lights. Every year we lose Christmas lights through storage. When we light them up, we check them. We're also trying to get more efficient by changing everything over to LED. If you would like to know how to donate to Christmas in July, definitely reach out to Lucy Medvick, or you can just go and find us on Amazon. We have a shopping list right there. And while you do, make sure that you use Amazon Smile so that we get a little bit more where we get gifts from Amazon directly for your purchases. In July, on membership, we've had a pretty good year. We have 770 paid members, 149 trials. We'd like to be around 400 because that helps us get even more members in after they have a trial. So if you have any new members that have joined your local Rose Society and would like to know more about that trial, let us know, and please send them in for all you presidents out there. We have 8,772 e-members. Of those, 1,971 are also paid members. So every month, we're reaching approximately 14,020 total members in Rose Education. So let's see how this has gone so far. In November of 2019, we were at 6,875 paid members, and you will see a drastic climb in March from 6,826 all the way up to 7,070. So we've seen some growth in our membership over the last several months. And I encourage you to reach out to everyone about Rose growing and becoming a member of the American Rose Society. Also about those trials that I was talking about, how much of an impact that makes. Of our trials, 22% of all our paid members come from trials. So encourage everyone that you know to at least consider becoming a trial member if they're not already a member. Membership resources, sources that we've got from, 87% are free trials. They become regular members. 156 e-members, those are people that receive the Fragrant Rose, have become members, and 32 paid trials have become members so far this year. We've also grown our e-member program by 798 so far this year. In accounting, we've done quite a bit going on there. We're talking about being fastidious with your dollars. Some of the things that we've done, we've saved $3,800 in a waste disposal contract. We saved $1,200 in the membership database by finding tax loophole. And also we were able to lower our liability in our audit from our insurance down to $788 from an amount of $6,255. Our accounting department does a great job. We've also been growing in our AOS social media stats. We had an increase of 73 in our Facebook likes this last month. And I ask that you share all those posts out there so we can get a few more likes that people can follow us. Website has also been viewed quite a bit. We've had 21,853 page views in the month of July so far, in August. So we're seeing an uptick on our website. Now at the American Rose Center, we've been talking about the improvements at the Rose Center, so I'm gonna go through a few of those for you. It'll go a little bit more in detail when this welling comes up with the Great Garden restoration. First off, Circle 1 is completed. The Clockwork Gardens, they're absolutely beautiful. I think I took this picture back in the 1st of May, and I will tell you that the blooms in there look so much better now, and the plants are looking great. We also had our Green Thumb pruning party in February, and it was a record. I think we had 60 or 70 people show up to help prune the gardens, and we had a beautiful spring bloom. It's a shame that we were closed because our roses were looking incredible. We also, thanks to the MET, were able to repaint our bathrooms, and I will tell you, they look nice here in this picture. They used to look like a dungeon. So we are so happy to have these bathrooms repainted at the Rose Center for all our visitors. We also had the painting of our signature area, which is Wind Sounds. It looks absolutely beautiful. And to give you an idea of the difference and the improvements that we're making, here's what it used to look like, so that you can see that it has made a significant difference in the look of our garden. We also have guiding other equipment. We had a John Deere Gator that had worn out and wouldn't even run anymore. We're able to move equipment around. We have new weed eaters and edgers. We have mowers, and we have a new trailer that we can go take our equipment to be maintained. We have gone from being able to mow our yard, our whole area in 3 days down to 1 to 1.5 days due to those improvements. We also completed the painting of the Klima Event Center. You will see that at the top, all the roof and all that has been painted at the top. We still have the doors to be replaced. We're going through that right now. Those were wood doors. We're going with steel doors, and we'll be soon replacing the carpet inside the Klima area and educational center. We have the installation of the irrigation system. We were about half to 2/3 of the way complete. We're so happy to have this irrigation system being installed, and it's made a huge difference in the health of our roses. We're also working, this is Arthur, one of the employees of the American Rose Center, and we're going around and painting every single object that we have out there that can get a coat of paint to make sure everything looks fresh and beautiful in your garden. We also have put in gravel in our parking lot, prepared for Christmas in Roseland and other events that we plan to have in the future. Last but not least, we have a new sign. We had signs that were missing for guests to be able to know how to get to the Rose Center because we're a little bit out of the way, and we were able to get a new sign, several new signs. We also have partnered with the Lions Club, and they did a legacy project, and they are almost complete with their pavilion. We also leveled the grounds and tried to get good turf in, which we did, and our grounds are looking wonderful, and we're having good runoff throughout the area. Thank you so much, and I hope this was informative of a lot of things going on. I will now hand this over to Miss Marilyn Welland.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am really happy to bring you this report on the progress of the Great Garden Restoration Project, begun in 2017 with a master plan and a whole host of goals, including achieving the status of Botanic Garden. You are looking at Wind Sounds. It is always our headline. It's our signature. Installed in the early 1970s with the first gardens, and as John has showed you, it is newly painted a soft white, which goes nicely with the brick, charcoal colored brick floor. My first impression on seeing this when it was first painted is I just discovered a cathedral among the trees. It was so beautiful and so sparkling. The American Rose Center Committee, a 12-person group which oversees the gardens, is also responsible for the restoration. Our chairman is Claude Graves of Dallas. I am Marilyn Welland, a former ARS president, a member of the ARC committee, and having been appointed by Bob Martin, I am serving as a restoration coordinator for the gardens. I'm going to find how to advance the slides. The ARC committee called for the production last year of an American Rose Garden Journal to keep you informed of the progress of the gardens. We hope you received the first 2 issues, and the 3rd issue is coming to you soon. The American Rose magazine, the award-winning magazine that Jack Page told you about earlier, has also granted us several pages per issue to report on the gardens. America's Rose Garden is one of our greatest assets, and it's owned by you as ARS members. And as such, it really must be a source of pride to you as ARS members. The garden article in the coming issue of the magazine will feature, among other things, the magnificent trees that are an important part of our garden. Identifying them is an important part of our status as a botanic garden. That magnificent Magnolia grandiflora on the left of your page is maybe 60 to 80 feet tall. We think about 4 stories tall. It is the most perfect Christmas tree shaped tree. It is our magnificent best tree of all. So I look forward to telling you that story in the American Rose magazine for September, October. I want to talk to you about the status of the restoration funds. Our project began with a $1.4 million goal. We counted 2017 as the beginning of phase 1, and it ran through 2018. During that period, we raised $559,000. We cut the trees, we put up the deer fence, we consolidated gardens, new walks were installed by the Louisiana Parks and Recreation Trails group. The well and lawn terrace was installed and added to the Clima building, and the Shanley Del Vecchio Pavilion was installed and completed in late 2018. Phase 2, we considered all of last year, 2019. During that year, we raised $192,000 for a new total of $751,000. Our first circle was complete. And that was a major goal for us to get started, to get some momentum going for the garden project. And we were happy to have completed it by the end of 2019. And then, as you heard earlier, we received a $400,000 distribution from the ARC Maintenance Endowment Trust. And that was for capital improvements on the building and grounds and for equipment. And that gave us a new total of $1,172,000. So you can see we're almost at our $1.4 million goal. Phase 3, the year 2020, we hope to fund the second circle. We think COVID-19 and the pandemic has gotten in the way of those plans a bit. And so it's almost certain we won't complete that. We do have a balance in the restoration fund of $60,000. That's made up of about $20,000 that remains from the year 2019 and the completion of the first circle. Then we got the large gift from the Sheehy family. And then we have received additional donations as well as made some expenditures. So with a estimated cost of $125,000, a balance in the restoration funds of $65,000, we need to raise $60,000. The restoration funds are kept totally separate from the American Rose Center funds, and there is our status. The third circle is an estimated cost of $150,000, and the fourth circle has an estimated cost of $200,000, and we are almost certain of funding that is now available for that fourth circle. So we just need to raise the money for circle 2 and 3, and we'll be on our way.
If you could push your button on the screen right there so it'll go full screen. I'm seeing your next slides on there where it's smaller up at the top.
Okay, so I'm showing the full screen on my second screen. What do I?
Move it over to the first screen, please.
Okay, if I can.
Yes.
Okay, we went too far. Did that happen? It didn't happen.
Did not, and what I can do is I can go to your slide and put it on my screen, and you can just tell me next if you want, and I can fill the screen.
Okay, but I want to use my screen, John.
Okay.
So what button do I push?
I believe right at the top next to, what I would do is where you're seeing it on your first screen where it's 2 slides in front of you, you need to flip-flop those. You need to swap the screens.
Sorry, I don't know how to do that.
Top, it says swap screens. It'll be keep moving your mouse to the left.
Oh yeah. Wish I'd have known that earlier. Sorry, everybody. Let me get rid of this.
And you're good.
There we go. Okay, so Now that the above distribution that we mentioned does include that state-of-the-art irrigation system that is being installed and is so near completion. We're so excited about finally having an irrigation system to take care of our gardens. Let me find how to advance now that I've switched pages.
Go to your other, there you go.
Okay. These are the projects that John talked about that were completed and are in progress as a result of that wonderful distribution that we received from the American Rose Center Maintenance Endowment Trust. You see projects complete, projects in process, which includes the irrigation system, and projects to be undertaken. John mentioned so many of them earlier, and we won't go over them individually, but they are very important to the restoration project, and we're so pleased that we were able to have access to those funds. The American Rose Center Committee presented an expression of appreciation for the delivery of those funds to the restoration project. That our appreciation was expressed to Bob Martin, our president, and the ARS Board of Directors at the board meeting on Thursday. But we offer here special appreciation to the president, Bob Martin, for belief in the value of the gardens to the society and our members, and for his dedication to success and completion of the restoration project. Thank you, Podars. Thank you, Bob. And issue special appreciation to ARS Executive Director John Corcoran for outstanding leadership in the gardens. And as we've learned lately, he is the master at technology issues. He's got us all up and running, or so. He is standing next to one of the big digs where we removed a tremendous stump from the restoration project. But John is the best we've had, and I have known every single director since we moved to the gardens to Shreveport and the headquarters to Shreveport. We thank you, John, for all that you give to us. And special appreciation to our garden director, Don Morgan. We couldn't have done it without him. He came to us as a volunteer and became an employee and director of the gardens. He's doing a great job. We have worked together so well because of amazing tools available. I've not been able to go to the garden since COVID, but we accomplished this work with print screen, photo markup, drone images, and being able to talk on the phone as frequently as we need to. He's shown here with his sweet daughter, Sarah Ann Morgan, who was a high school volunteer and now is a student, a college student garden volunteer. And she's always with us on work days, and we love our Sarah Ann. This is a garden map created by our local architect, and we will soon be using this garden to create a garden map for visitors, you know, something with all the color and the way to show our visitors through the gardens. You can see in the, get my pointer. In the area of this is the core garden. And this is outlined by the new 8-foot walkways that were installed by the Louisiana Department of Trails and Parks. So within the core are the 4 circles representing where we're going to tell the history of the rose in America. We begin with the first circle. In the current season, the century 2021, excuse me, the 21st century, and we go back in time as we tell the history of the rose in America by the selection of roses and the stories they're going to tell. Then we see a image of the map where we've drawn the sections of the garden to make touring of the gardens easier. So the designated sections, this is the entrance on the left-hand screen. John showed you a picture of this entrance, and the gate is here. So these are the entrance gardens, and that includes the Buckeye Garden in this area. And then we go to the Klima Gardens, and that's those gardens that surround the Klima on the rear of the Klima. And then we show you the chapel gardens, and here is the chapel and the gardens that surround the chapel. This section over here are the Tranquility Gardens. This area, no trees were cut from this area. And here we have the Never Forget Garden, the Angel of Hope Sculpture Garden, the Labyrinth Garden, which is here. And then we have an area reserved for the Children's Garden. That's a future project. The Asian gardens are very important to any botanic garden, and especially to ours, because it's one of our most popular sites within the garden. And the Asian gardens are here. This restoration project took us across this sidewalk, and so now we are expanding into this area, which you will see in a few minutes. This is our Wind Sounds Garden. This is the area of Easy Care Gardens. We're beginning to show you some of the recent installations and improvements to our garden. In addition to those John showed you, we had a new sign installed after our iconic sign of many years was destroyed by a really big runaway truck. A truck won't be able to take this sign down. It's about 11 feet of natural rock. The roses in this bed are red drift, and next to the fence, the roses are, I'll go back. I know I didn't show you that picture. The roses are planted near the sign. We used white drifts, 4th of July, Don Juan, and Veterans Honor. We step inside the gates and you'll find 6 beautiful towers that are towers of ramblers. 6 of them outline the drive from the entrance to the front of the Klima Education and Visitor Center. The roses here are Super Dorothy, Super Excelsa, and Super Fairy. These are made possible by Chambersville Tree Farm and Dean and Carol Oswald, who donated both the roses and the beautiful forms, the same as they use at Chambersville Tree Farm for their outstanding collection of ramblers. And then the first garden that you come to is the Buckeye District Garden. It's created in 2007 after we completed Klima Rose Hall. The garden is in memory of Dr. William and Betty Pavey. It is planted with a wonderful collection of roses. To the left, you'll see Let Freedom Ring, and to the right, the wonderful Julia Childs and others, excellent varieties that were chosen by members of the Deep South District, Buckeye District. This garden is also used to show you the signage that we're using throughout the garden. The metal sign is created to identify each of the gardens, and it shows the date that the garden was established. And then to the left, under Let Freedom Ring, you'll see in a little bit out of focus our garden rose identification labels. And every rose in the garden is now labeled and identified. We're happy to report that. The Welland Terrace at the rear of Klima Rose Hall got an extension in this restoration. It's the Welland Lawn Terrace with bridal stairs down the center, a much needed addition because we had quite an awkward way for brides to exit the building and get down to the wedding ceremony. And this gives us an opportunity to use the terraces for seating, such as seen here for brown bag lunches and for events and performances. This is a side view of those terrace steps, and it's looking toward the Gulf District Garden of David Austin Roses. This was the occasion of the national introduction of the most recent Peace Rose stamp by the U.S. Postal Service. They arranged it all. They set up that stage and had a big reveal of the new stamp. Autographing took place. Bob Martin, and others, including the granddaughter of the hybridizer of the Peace Rose from the House of Neon, was on tap to give talks about that rose and its glory. This is the rear of Klima Rose Hall again, and we want you to see and love the Dudley Watkins reflection pool. It's doing what it was meant to do. It's reflecting. Since this photograph, it was planted with 10 ginkgo trees, 5 on each side. They're named the Allen Owings Ginkgo Alley. And we're so thankful to Alan for all of his support, including having served as a chairman of the ARC committee. The back, this end in the forefront of the image is a granite wall. This is a invisible edge. That's not the name for it, but when you have a wall, all 4 walls, the water flows over the side. And on this end, when it hits those granite ledges that are graduated down, it makes a nice sound. So that's an addition that the garden, the pool offers us. This is a drone image of Klima Rose Hall showing the location of the new Lions Centennial Legacy Garden. John mentioned it earlier in his talk. It included something we needed really badly, and that is a handicap ramp. We call it the ability ramp. It includes also an 18 by 18 foot Lions Pavilion. And then we have the Lions Walk. These walks were installed in addition to this ramp. And then they also have a gate that will be installed here that will be called the Lions Gate. The Lions also donated this walkway along the side of the pool. We had a walkway on the other side, but we needed a corresponding walkway on this side, and that was a very generous gift that they made to the American Rose Society and to the gardens. And this whole project will be a great asset to the gardens. Now you can see the completed pavilion, the Lions Legacy Pavilion. We used the same lighting fixtures that we're using elsewhere in the gardens. What remains is the retaining wall that will follow this rise in the ground level. So a retaining wall has been begun here, and then the planting of the gardens, and it will be a sensory garden with sight, touch, and smell. We worked closely with the Lions, and they're excited and we're excited. We had their groundbreaking when the board of directors was in Shreveport in April 2019, and to see this finished is a great new day. The beautiful Pat Shanley John Del Vecchio Rose Garden Gate Pavilion, the gate to the gardens. It's on the opposite side of the reflection pool. And again, the pool beautifully reflects the pavilion. And from the other side, you can see, look back toward the Klima Rose Hall and see the pool again. Now, the trees aren't showing in this, neither is the new Shreveport Bossier Rose Society gardens that flank the Shanley Del Vecchio Pavilion on the sides. And then we have planted some hollies in the area that are adding to the landscape. This is a favorite place for weddings, small weddings, and it's been used for small lunches. And Christmas in Roseland, it was the site of the marshmallow fire pit that John showed you, and it was a super hit at that time. A pretty image of the Peggy Martin Rose is growing on a split rail fence near the Hartner Chapel. To those of you, I think nobody in the world doesn't know about the Peggy Martin Rose, but we're in the 15th anniversary of Katrina. And that's when this rose was found to have survived Katrina hurricane. And I'll remember on that day, that very day that Katrina hit the city of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast, our ARS President Emeritus Jim Herring was making his way down to Shreveport to serve as interim director at the American Rose Center and for the American Rose Society when we did not have a director. In the left-hand side of the picture, you can see a lily magnolia tree that was planted in memory of an infant who was remembered in a very beautiful ceremony in the gardens. That tree is also known as pink flowering magnolia, and we're happy to have it on the grounds. I want you to note in some of the photographs a thing I appreciate about the gardens, and that's the number one, the shade, and number two, the lovely pattern of shadows on the ground. I think it adds a lot. The Hartner Chapel is surrounded by small gardens that are dedicated to Mary Johnston and Congresswoman Lindy Boggs, who were responsible for the rose being named America's national floral emblem. In front of the chapel, there's a small circular garden we call the wedding ring garden, planted with wedding bells roses in the circle. In outer rings around the garden are planted Mr. Lincoln and Grand Amore. The latter is in memory of District Director Kenneth Kelly's wife, Wanda, who we miss. Mcfarland Plaza. This is an early photo with the new Mcfarland rose just planted before the beginning of the first circle. New landscaping around Mcfarland Plaza was done, and it makes it truly a plaza. A row of columnar hollies on the left provide a stately background for the roses. Between the hollies and the roses is a row of boxwood, small now but growing, to add form and structure and elegance to the gardens. In the right, you can see one of two rambler towers by Chambersville Tree Farms, like those at the front entrance. On this tower, the variety Dr. W. Van Fleet, who was a personal friend of J. Horace Mcfarland, father of the American Rose Society. We have Claude Graves again to thank for helping us acquire these plants and for the roses. This is an opposite view of the oval Mcfarland Plaza with Mcfarland roses and a nice background of pines and really beautiful magnolias and a beautiful Japanese maple to the left-hand side of your picture. Note the sign on the right, and that is our interpretive signage to help us tell the history of the rose in America. This sign tells you why he is the father of the American Rose Society. It tells you about the plaza and its installation and the donation of Mcfarland roses by Star Roses and Plants and Mion House of Roses. And we thank you, Buckeye District, for the gift of interpretive signage and for other signage needs in our garden. Appreciate you very much, Buckeyes. Now we have, again, the benefit of drone imaging, and this is the Clockwork Gardens in the core, within the core. Here is that core walkway that I showed you in the map that goes around the gardens. The first circle is looking toward the front and Klima in the photo. And this then is the Mcfarland Plaza with its new hollies and the boxwoods encircling the edges of the plaza. The plaza is new, added by the Louisiana Trails project. We've planted crepe myrtles in this area. This is a magnolia. This is an alley of crepe myrtles of the white variety Natchez. And when those trees mature and meet at the top, they will provide an alley that visitors walk under. This is the Kimbrough Walter shelter. It's been here for a number of years, and a beautiful little sculpture here that is a little boy that was donated by the Jack Walters family. This is the Shanley Del Vecchio Pavilion and the Shreveport Bossier Rose Society Gardens flanking the Shanley Del Vecchio Pavilion, the pool, the Klima Rose Hall, and the Lions Pavilion here. And the chapel is here. This garden is the member's choice, ARS member's choice, where the winners, each year's winners since 2004, have been planted in this garden. You will have the pleasure of a reveal of the 2021 Members' Choice Award winner in the awards banquet this evening. The second circle begins about where John Corcoran here is standing, taking this drone image, and it will proceed around to the left of where he's standing. Each of the 4 circles will honor the major donors, and this is our first circle's donor recognition pedestal. It's 40 inches tall of granite. The name of the first circle in memory of Charles T. Beard and Carolyn W. Beard. Dr. Beard was a chairman for many years of the American Rose Center Maintenance Endowment Trust, and they've been very generous to the gardens through the years. And our major social hall is named for Charles T. Beard as well. Other principal donors for this garden: Robert Myers and Jack Page, Jim and Ann Herring, Frank and Flora Hover, Alan Owings, Collin County Rose Society, Bob Martin, the San Diego Rose Society, and members of the American Rose Society, and that's you. We thank you all so much for making this first circle possible. And going back, the second circle will be centered right behind that pedestal. Here are perspective drawings for the second circle. And I'll start with this in the corner. Here is the Mcfarland Plaza and the first circle. And then this second circle is laid out behind it. The third circle, a little bit johnily set to the left. And the fourth circle is not shown on these drawings. Here I can show you that when you enter with a visitor card, the first circle, you could go this way and go down the ramp to enter the second circle. And then from there, you would exit the second circle and go to the third circle using the ramp for that circle. And then you alternately have the access to the second circle down these stairs. In the first circle, the center is has a brick floor in a nice charcoal brick that looks just like the brick at the Wind Sounds. In the second, third, and fourth circle, the centers will be grass. Now we look at the big picture, and this is looking from, oh, I went too far. This is from the third circle, second circle, first circle, showing you the access down the steps and down the ramp. It was an ingenious way to make transition with the cart, but also by stairs. In this slide, I want to show you the sizes of the gardens, and here we are in the, they are progressively larger because this is a perspective drawing. The first circle looks larger, but it's not. It is 82 feet in diameter. The center inside the beds is 55 feet in diameter, and there are 130 feet of running beds, 130 running feet of beds in the garden, and each bed in full, all the circles are 9 feet wide. The second circle is 115 feet diameter, and the center circle of grass is 54 feet. And in this circle, there are 315 running feet of beds. Third circle, still larger, 131 feet in diameter, a 70-foot diameter grass circle, and 300, I went past it, 350 feet of planting beds. Then over on the right, you see the fourth circle is the largest still, 154 feet in diameter, a 93 feet diameter grass center, and beds totaling 440 feet of beds. The first circle was planted with roses of the 21st century, as we mentioned earlier. Roses, there was a criteria. They needed to be top exhibition hybrid teas and floribundas in the most recent survey by ARS members. Only roses from 2000 and over were eligible. Replacements, as needed, will bring in new varieties and continually bring in new varieties that fit that same criteria. The second circle will be planted with roses of the 20th century. Here we are going back in time as we tell the history of the rose in America. Now, the second circle will be planted with roses introduced from the year 1900 to 1999, the 20th century. And they must be roses in commerce. They must be hybrid teas, grandifloras, floribundas, polyanthus, many floras, and climbers, and they which will be planted on large arbors over the walk. Now, we've asked ARS members to help us select these varieties, and I think it'll be fun for you to participate. We hope you'll submit your favorites to Carol Shockley, a member of the American Rose Center Committee, and she'll be compiling the record of nominations. You'll see her email address here, and you'll also see her address on my Facebook page, as well as in the American Rose Society magazine, as well as on the ARS website. The Handbook for Selecting Roses is your resource for rose names and classes and dates of introduction. The Great Garden Restoration Project requires the help of all of us, and here's how you can help support. Our brick program has gone really well. At the end of 2019, we listed all the bricks that had been donated, and we have now had them engraved and delivered, and they are awaiting installation. So the 4x8 brick engraved with your name, our friend's name, our family name, $100. The 8x8 brick, where you can say more, is $200 or up to any amount. The ceramic planter that we added to the gardens, we've put 3 in the at Mcfarland Plaza, and we've already had one of those donated, and that's $500. The Hug a Tree program has been going on, and that's a $500 donation. And garden benches, $1,000 for a beautiful teak bench. It lasts forever, and they look great and smart in the garden, and one of 2 approved benches for the American Rose Center, America's Rose Garden. In addition, there are beautiful 18-inch by 18-inch tiles in Klima Rose Hall, in the Whitaker Hall, that can be donated for $1,000 with your engraving. And the arbors in the second circle, this is a guess as to the amount. I don't have a figure yet, but we would like to offer you the opportunity to have an arbor named for you. All donations of $100 to $499 will be engraved on a brick. All donations of $500 or more will be engraved on our donor wall. And this is a mock-up of the way it might look eventually. These are granite panels that will be affixed to a brick wall, and we can use both sides because the main walkway goes along here to Klima and away from Klima, so that we will have panels on both sides. We have enough names to inscribe all 4 panels on this side of this wall. So we're very, very happy that is the status and where we are. These are some of the gardens now that we are working on, and this again, Wind Sounds, is complete. The painting, the restoration of the structure itself. It is 30 feet high. It's a Carillon tower. It has speakers where we can play music or just the sound of the Carillon bells. It is also now the site of the American Rose Center International Rose Trials. We entered the trials for the first time in 2019, and we'll soon be seeking entries for 2021. With the pandemic permitting, the first final trials will be held in spring 2021, when winners will be announced with great fanfare. Now we're in this sustainability section of the gardens. The Deep South Garden, a garden of knockout family of roses, was expanded this year by the planting of all 10 knockout varieties. They were planted, this was formerly a grassy area all the way around, and it's quite large. And so we planted, I think, almost 100 roses in there. And so this rose garden is looking really good, and it is sponsored by the Deep South District. And we thank you, Deep South District, for all the support that you've given to the gardens through the years, and especially in this great restoration project. Also in the sustainability section, this is the Easy Care Garden of Roses. This is a garden that was installed by a Mr. Hand for his beloved wife, Muriel. It is a memorial garden, and he personally did all of the benches, created himself all the benches and the structural elements in that garden in her memory. Also in the sustainability section, the horticulturalist garden with a variety of roses, azaleas, and one very magnificent Japanese maple that is a hugger tree for our dear friend and member, Dr. Alan Owings. The Cleo Barnwell Garden of Pollinators and Companion Plants. We know pollinators are important to so many people and to our visitors, and we're not going to disappoint. This is an old fence around this garden. A new fence parts have arrived already and will be installed very soon by our garden director, Don Morgan, and we'll be ready for fall planting of the new plants for this garden. Also in the sustainability section, the Arclotech Herb Society has created a garden of herbs. Now, they've been a long time partner with the American Rose Center, but we moved them to a better, more prominent location within the core garden because the herbs are popular as well. And this garden is under construction, but it is moving along, and the ladies of the Herb Society are doing a very nice job. That's a dogwood tree you see in bloom across the walk. This is an area of the garden where we soon will install a wall of ramblers. All are donated by Claude Graves and Chambersville Tree Farm. Within this area, a 72-foot wall of white columns will be installed along with these roses. These are ramblers from the Chambersville Tree Farm. And this wall of columns, white columns, and these ramblers will be 72 feet long on completion. One of the most special places in our garden is the Asian Tea House and Gardens. These images will give you a quick tour through the area. We expanded the Asian garden, as I mentioned earlier, to move across the walk, which gave us a lot more room for more trees, and it includes the wishing well. This is a popular little spot, the wishing well, but we have all of these surrounding gardens where we've put mimosas and Japanese maples, and we'll be adding other plants. This will be a garden of shade plants, all of Asian origin. This garden has too much shade for roses, so this is a nice transition to another popular type of garden. Within the Tranquility section of the garden, this is the Angel of Hope sculpture garden. It was dedicated this time last year, and then there was a candlelight ceremony of remembrance on December 6th that will be held every year on December 6th at 6 p.m. In the gardens in remembrance of loved ones. And this is the garden. And you can see that it's in the area of many pines. And the area out to this side is what I'm calling the Tranquility Lawn. And I think every major garden needs a lawn, and there is our open space out there on the right. This is also a drone image, thanks to John Corcoran. We had some roses in here. We've added a few plants. More will be added this fall, but we have added the rose Tranquility, the white David Austin rose in this garden. That should be pretty. And in the future, the new plants will be white. Also, this little garden includes my own bronze sculpture of a newborn cradled in an angel's wing. Also, see the interpretive signage. This is another example of the interpretive signage sponsored by the ARS Buckeye District. This one tells about the Angel of Hope Garden and how this sculpture came to be. And we are the 150th angel sculpture in the country, and others can be found in parks and cemeteries across the U.S. This is another early example of drone images, one of many created and donated by Chris Kelly of Louisiana Signs and Designs early on in the restoration project. But here it's marked up in creation of the new America's Rose Garden Never Forget Garden. The site was chosen because there were 3 existing flagpoles, some plantings with more to come of roses with symbolisms expressing love, courage, valor, faith, family, remembrance, gratitude, and all affairs of the heart. We're happy that there are 3 flagpoles in this garden, and there's an azalea here, a crepe myrtle here, a new bench donated by Cindy Dale, District Director for the Deep South District, and David Dale. And this new teak bench will join us in this garden, this Never Forget garden. A dogwood tree is here, a pear tree is here, of course, azaleas and pine trees galore. And this is a photograph of the garden from the ground level. This was formerly the Illinois-Indiana garden. And these 2 beds were in the shape of the letter I for Illinois, Indiana. And now, because the centennial for the unknown soldier will take place on the 11th month, the 11th day, the 11th hour on 2021, we thought those 2 I's also could represent the number 11, which is very important to the centennial and to the unknown soldier. The American Rose Society is joined with the National Society of the Honor Guard, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, who is encouraging people all over the country to create gardens or garden spots in honor of and in memory of our fallen war heroes and in preparation for the centennial of the unknown soldier in November 2021. The flags we installed, and that's thanks to a donation from the Illinois-Indiana District. The American flag, of course, and this flag represents the 5 branches of service, and this flag says honor and remember. And they also donated the garden marker that was created by the Society for the Honor Guard, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And the marker reads, "This garden is a living tribute to all America's veterans and their families. In silence and respect, this is a place to remember while millions of our countrymen have fought and died for our liberty and our freedom. Here we renew our promise to fulfill America's sacred duty to never forget. Here we renew our mutual pledge to support them with our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor." The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Never Forget Garden and its garden marker was inspired by 244 years of America's unshakable commitment to its sacred duty to never forget or forsake those who have served and sacrificed on behalf of America in times of war or armed conflict. A statement by the Honor Guard. We recognize and recommend the unifying effect of the language of flowers in expressing the profound emotions of patriotism, remembrance, love, and mourning. The Society views the centennial of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as an opportunity for individuals, communities, garden clubs, garden architects, seed and plant vendors, and governments to express our profound love, sorrow, respect, and gratitude to those who have served and sacrificed on behalf of America. We pay reverence to their families. Every flower, plant, or tree will be a symbol of love, their planting an act of unity. In the timeless language of flowers, they will quietly trumpet the message that must never weaken. America's sacred honor to never, ever forget or forsake our veterans or the principles that define us as Americans. The growing of flowers, plants, or trees is a very personal experience in a personal space. Visiting a cemetery or memorial with flowers is a common and beautiful way to remember and express our love. But for those who want to express their love of country in a more private space, to bring that beauty home, we invite the creation of a Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Never Forget garden and placing a Never Forget garden marker. These special gardens will be living tributes to be cherished throughout the year, 24 hours a day. Those words are by a former tomb guard, Richard Azaro. He is a former founder and president of the Society of the Honor Guard, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and is leading the Never Forget Garden Project and the Centennial. I'm happy that Richard is now a member of the American Rose Society and has joined our meeting today. Welcome, Richard. Thank you. You must know that the white rose, the rose used in the laying of the bouquet on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in November 1921, was made up of white roses. The white rose is the flower, the official flower, and the official symbol of the Honor Guard, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Some time back, Bob Martin, the American Rose Society received an inquiry from a member of the Tomb Guard Society asking about the rose that might have been the rose used in the laying of the bouquet on the first naming of the unknown soldier. Being the historian that he is, Bob did a magnificent research project and has published that, as a matter of fact, under the title, The Rose of the Unknown Soldier. That will soon be shown on the American Rose Society website, as well as on the website of the Tomb Guard Society. In addition, Bob expressed a great desire for us to participate in this project. And when the board met in Shreveport in April 2019, we walked out into the garden and selected the site that would be the most appropriate for our Never Forget garden. It is the garden where we have the 3 flagpoles that help us demonstrate our love of our veterans and those who have served. From there, we became involved in with the Society for the Honor Guard, and Bob Martin, President Bob Martin, appointed me to represent the ARS to work with the Tomb of the Honor Guard in the installation of the Never Forget gardens around the country. So we hope, we must say this effort is national. It's going to include branches of all the national services and veterans and American legions in US and in France. We've also involved the great plant nursery family, Pernay Duché Family Nursery, and now owned by Fabian Duché. We've engaged them, and they're very interested in this project and have given us a rose, a white rose that we can name Never Forget. And Fabian will be participating with us in the activities that take place in France in and during the centennial. We do encourage all of you to install Never Forget gardens. I've published information about it on my Facebook page. It's on the Tomb Guard for the Facebook page as well as on the website, and will soon be written about on the American Rose Society website. So please join. If you have any questions or if you'd like to have some more information, please email me at the email address you see. And finally, I'd like to say that if you would like to have a program in your society or your district about the restoration project of the America's Rose Garden, we're going to make that program available thanks to Diane Summers and her great teaching abilities. We're setting these meetings up. President Emeritus Jim Herring will be joining and making these presentations known and available to you. I hope you enjoyed a tour of the gardens and to learn about all of the activities and the improvements we've made to the garden, and the best is yet to come. It's improving every day, and it's going to be a wonderful thing to follow and to be the owner of. I'm so happy you and I are owners of the America's Rose Garden in Shreveport, Louisiana, ARS headquarters. Thank you for letting me speak today, and I'll turn this back to John.
Right, I'm gonna call upon Diane Summers. Just 1 second, she will be up. She will have her presentation. Yep, Diane?
Let me know when you can see the screen, John.
You're good to go.
Okay, super. Well, thank you, John, and actually thank you, Bob, for asking that we talk about technology this afternoon. We actually shared a little bit of an update with the board the other day, and so we've been asked to follow up with all of you. I'm going to change this program just slightly so that we really can focus on, I think, what's most meaningful for you. There's a lot of words on this page, but what's really important is that this is a list of comments coming back from our local Rose Society presidents as part of the 2019 survey. And we asked them how we could help the local Rose Societies and what their opinions were. And you'll see a lot of red, bold red and bold black on this slide, which those are things that either have been completed or they're very close to completion. By far, the most common comment we got was around program support for our local Rose Society. So that's either providing programs, providing speakers, providing ideas related to programs. And so that is something that we've really been focused on in the past year. And to make that happen, technology is really taking center stage for us. We have been able to have an agreement now with GoToMeeting, where we've established a community license program for all of our local Rose Societies to use. This is free of charge. There's no cost to this program, and we've rolled it out in the first quarter of the year, and it's starting to gain momentum, and more people are using it all the time. We can also, you can also purchase your own license if you'd like. There's an annual charge. It's at a discounted rate. It's the same cost that ARS has. And I'm going to show you in a couple minutes how you can actually do that. We've also spent some time on the Resource Center at rose.org. And we've added a Speakers Bureau page so that you can connect with people who have volunteered to provide programs live to your local Rose Societies. And that can be, and really the thought was to do it virtually, right, using these tools. We also have added to the list of programs that anybody can download so that you can use those programs again for your local Rose Societies. Sometimes the technology isn't available from the internet in your local Rose Society meetings, and so that gives you another way to be able to present a program to your society. Now, what's happened since all of this started was that COVID-19 actually occurred. And so the value of these technology tools has taken on an entirely different meaning. And we know that we have local Rose Societies today that have been meeting every month virtually since they could not meet in person. And I know of a couple districts that are also taking the opportunity to have their district meeting held virtually. And I've actually seen a couple of virtual Rose shows. So we're all learning a lot about this technology and how it can help us to stay connected during these challenging times. Not only have we provided these tools, we've also taken the next steps in helping to provide educational programming on a wider scale, if you will. And certainly being able to present to all of you today is one of the tools that we've been really focused on, which is our GoToWebinar tool. It's used for larger audiences in addition to what we have GoToMeeting. We've also put on our first virtual Green Thumb seminar. So the American Rose Center has been hosting Green Thumb seminars for quite a while. And, you know, obviously we can't all make it to the center to participate. But as we've turned them into virtual events, we certainly can. And the first one had over 200 participants, which Marilyn tells me that's the largest Green Thumb seminar they've had. So I'm sure there's going to be more to come on that as well. I want to take you quickly to look at where you can find these resources. This, of course, is our homepage. You're all very familiar with the homepage. And on the right-hand side, we have the resource tab over here. And I've circled a couple things that you'll want to keep your eye on, which is GoToMeeting resources and PowerPoint resources. As related to GoToMeeting resources, when you go to that tab, this is what you're going to see. And you'll have a whole list here of speakers and meetings that or programs that they are willing to put on for you. We really would like some more volunteers on this program. So if you would be willing to do that, that would be absolutely super. I know a lot of people on this call give great programs, and being able to do this virtually and helping Rose Societies across the country would just be wonderful. But you can also participate in the ARS Community License Program. So this works kind of like your library card, and you can actually just reserve a GoToMeeting license for the meeting that you have. It could be your local Rose Society meeting, it could be a committee meeting, it could be a district meeting. This gives you the opportunity and flexibility to do that. Our community license are available on a first-come basis. We have 4 of them, and they're shared within a time zone. So that's how we have it organized. And we can certainly help you with those. You know, the first time you're going through a program, you'll find that the ARS staff, as well as myself, has been assisting and hosting those types of meetings just to make sure that it runs well for you. In addition, you can buy your own license, as I mentioned, and there's a form for that as well. If you go to purchase a license, it's $125 for the full year, and then that's yours that nobody else is using, and you can use it as frequently as you want, as long as you want, for up to 250 participants. I would caution you in large meeting sizes. However, the first CR program we did, we tried using GoToMeeting, and it was just too much, and we kind of blew the system off the top of the chart, I guess, but we quickly rebounded with our GoToWebinar program. The staff has also developed some simple guides here so that you can help, they'll help you as the host, if you will, and they'll also help those attending the meeting. And some of you have seen those in some of the programs we've been doing frequently. And again, they're available for you to use. Now we're going to take a look at the PowerPoint resource page. There's two important features on this page that I want to call out for you. One is presentation submissions. This is an opportunity for you to provide a PowerPoint type program that other Rose societies could download and use in their meetings. And I know that, again, a number of people on this call have a lot of fantastic PowerPoint programs. It's very easy to do. You simply check the box as to what district grouping you're in and add your title. And then there's just a quick download button here, or an upload file, excuse me, that will then send your presentation to one of our district CR chairs. Our district CR chairs are reviewing the material, and then they are forwarding it on to Beth Smiley in our editorial department, and then Beth goes ahead and loads it into the website. And this is what it looks like when it's on the website. This is what you would see right now if you went out there. We've got program titles. We've got, is it appropriate for a national audience, or maybe there's some that are more locally, focused. Probably somebody in San Diego doesn't want to listen to me talk about winterizing roses, for example. Who the author is, and then all you have to do is click on the download, and it'll download into your computer. It would be wonderful. We've talked about this earlier this year, if we could add to this program. And if every district just gave us 4 new programs, we would have over 70 new programs available. So the ARS has really set the framework here, but it really is important that we all support it, because we're supporting one another and providing the types of programs that our local Rose societies are looking for. You can also use this if you're kind of looking for an idea on a program. So you can see all the different types of program titles and things like that. So again, a great resource and something that we know is of real value to our local Rose societies. There's been a lot of talk already about the Consulting Rosarian program going virtual. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I want you to know we had over 250 participants at each of these sessions. It was just phenomenal, and people from all of our 18 districts were participating, and we had limited this to CRs or CR candidates because really this was a first step for us. So we hadn't expected this kind of volume. It was really great. The programs were really good, and again, they're out there on the resource tab, so you can take a look at those and use those as well. Not only did everybody in those meetings learn something about roses, but we also learned a lot about how to host programs, and we learned about how to attend these kind of programs. So a great learning experience for everybody. And as earlier mentioned, we gained 43 new CRs, so that's fabulous. The success of this program is really due to our National CR Committee. It's chaired by Dave and Jerry Mahoney, and so really hats off to all of them who worked so hard for that finished project. I mean, really, we had meetings, a lot of meetings going through a lot of details outside of the technology to try to bring together how 18 districts do these sorts of things into a program that everybody would be comfortable with. And there's more work to be done there. In September, the district CR chairs are going to have a meeting to talk about what those next steps are and to talk about the next virtual CR program. So make sure you reach out to your district CR chair by the end of September. They should have an update for you and some more detail onto when that next program, the CR program, is, so that if you want to become a Consulting Rosarian, you will now be able to do it virtually. And I'm sure that our districts will be having in-person types of programs again as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you. There's always next steps. We're never done. As I mentioned, there's going to be another virtual CR school, and I think that'll be in the first part of 2021. We're also having some very, very early discussion on opportunities related to horticultural and arrangement judging. So that might be something that's out there for the future as well. We continue to look at how we can use these tools for our membership and for the public so that we can continue to offer programs related to roses and rose education. We all need to focus on building out the Speakers Bureau and our downloadable programs. So I can't wait to see all those programs start to come in. And I would ask that you pay attention to the next local Rose Society survey that should be out in early 2021. Those surveys are really important. We had over 50% of our local Rose Societies participate in 2019. And it really does provide us with the feedback that we need to do a better job supporting all of you as members and as local Rose Societies. So we thank you for your feedback. We hope we're doing some great things here that will make your local Rose Societies better, and look forward to getting more feedback in 2021. And that's all I have for today.